In this week's Retro Pop Culture News, the hoverboard from Back to the Future 2 and 3 is up for auction. Then That 70s Show is getting a sequel that's called That 90s Show, and we have a lot more news to talk about, so don't turn that dial. What up to my peoples, and welcome to Retro Crunch. So in our first news of the day, an instantly recognizable prop from one of the most enduring movie trilogies of all time is up for sale at an auction on propstore.com. If there was ever a prop to own from the Back to the Future franchise that is not a DeLorean, the hoverboard from Back to the Future 2 would probably be near pretty much anybody's list. The Mattel hoverboard was invented for Back to the Future lore somewhere between 1985 and 2015, but the hoverboard prop that's for sale on propstore.com was first seen by Marty McFly when he had to escape Griff Tannen and his gang in the town square. And then later in the movie, he had to retrieve the sports almanac, which played havoc on the timeline. The hoverboard also appeared in the cinematic sequence of the final chapter in the exciting train sequence in the final movie, if you saw that as well. The Back to the Future hoverboard is iconic, and if you want a chance to own a piece of history that's also been autographed by Michael J. Fox, the link down below is where you can go register to bid on November 9th. In the next few days, Prop Store is going to be releasing more information on the board's real history to validate its authenticity and its rarity, so keep an eye out for that. This is probably one of the few props that I would really love to own, but I hear that it's going to be selling for somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000, so I already know that I'm out. But if you have that kind of change lying around, by all means, when you win, bring it over and we'll do a review of it together. I promise that I won't try to keep it. Maybe. And then next up, there is a sequel TV series to That 70s Show that's being made that's titled That 90s Show, and of course, it's going to take place in the mid-90s. The show is being made by Netflix, and here's what it's about. Set in Wisconsin in 1995, That 70s Show follows Leah Foreman, daughter of Eric and Donna, who in visiting her grandparents for the summer and bonds with a new generation of Point Place kids under the watchful eye of Kitty and the stern glare of Red. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll never dies. It just changes clothes. So far, there's been no commitment for any other That 70s Show cast members besides Kurtwood and Deborah to sign on for That 90s Show, but the showrunners are really hopeful that Topher Grace, Laura Prepon, and Ashton Kutcher, that they're going to make guest appearances periodically. And I really hope that they do, because if this is going to be a sequel show and not a loose spinoff, we need to see the lead character's mom and dad in the show as well. Plus, I'd like to see Jackie come back every so often. We do know that Netflix has ordered 10 episodes, and my hope is that the show directors are going to have learned from the failure of That 80s Show and do something that's going to really recapture what they had with That 70s Show. I was pretty disappointed with That 80s Show because I'm an 80s kid and I was really excited when it came out, but it never really clicked with me, and a lot of that generational humor, it just never came across as genuine. The characters and the storylines from the 80s show and That 70s Show, they never really crossed paths. However, the main characters of each of the show, Eric Foreman and Corey Howard, they were first cousins, so I guess that's kind of how they were linked. In That 90s Show, it's going to be a direct sequel that's set about 16 years in the future, with Eric and Donna's daughter, Leia, being the main character. And the fact that Eric's parents are huge parts of the show should really help draw in the old audiences and also new people that want to watch it. Anyways, I'm happy to see that Red and Kitty are going to be back in this new sequel, and I look forward to seeing how Red interacts with Eric's daughter, Leia Foreman. And I'm betting that we're going to see lots of grunge and Jinko jeans and overalls and tons of 90s fashion, but will this show be any good? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But be sure to let me know what you think about a sequel series to That 70s Show, and are you going to watch it? And then next up, Timothée Chalamet, he dropped a few pics on Instagram that gave us a look into what he's going to look like in the new Wonka movie, but what I thought was more interesting is what actually disappeared from his Instagram. He also posted a pic of the cane that Wonka's going to have in the movie, and there's this small wrap present in the head of the cane, but he deleted that picture off of Instagram, and I'm wondering if that's a plot device that they didn't want to reveal. Whatever happens, I can't wait to see this in theaters next year. Then I got a couple more stories that I want to go over real quick. For Auld Lang Syne, a weird name for a Snoopy or Charlie Brown TV special, but we got one that's going to be coming out on December 10th on Apple TV Plus. So if you have Apple TV Plus, Check it out. And Nash Bridges, which ran from 1996 to 2001 and starred Don Johnson and Cheech Marin, they're back for a 2-hour Nash Bridges movie next month, which could end up launching a full-blown revival series. This is going to be premiering on November 27th on the USA Network if you want to check it out. And finally, if you're into retro news and nostalgia stuff from back in the day, I'll see you in the next video. I'll catch you on the flip side, and remember, if it ain't retro, it ain't worth watching.